Hi, my name is Evan Michael Zislis. I'm the author of the Amazon #1 bestseller, Clutter-Free Revolution, and founder of Intentional Solutions, a strategies consulting firm based out of Aspen, Colorado. I'm a strategies consultant. I help people to simplify so that they can focus on the things that matter most, and that is who we love, what we do, how and why we live, because everything else is just stuff. My work with people is in 5 areas: organization, operational systems, time and task management, content creation, and professional networking. I work with households, businesses, students and teachers, and people in life transition. Today we're going to be talking about executive function and why it's important. Executive function is the part of your brain. It's like the air traffic control tower of your brain. It's the most recently evolved part of our brains up here in the prefrontal cortex. And it's basically the CEO of your brain. It helps us to integrate new information with old information. It helps us to regulate our attention to one thing or multiple things simultaneously. It helps us to take new information, synthesize it with old information so that we can form new ideas and take those ideas and use them in a creative way to solve problems. So executive function is a really important aspect of learning and using that knowledge to solve problems, which is really what school and education is all about. So unfortunately, executive function doesn't get very much play in the traditional classroom setting. And I end up doing a lot of executive function development. And I've created this little activity exercise that I do with a variety of people. I do it a lot with kids as young as, 2nd, 3rd grade, all the way up through adult. And I use it a lot with people with adult ADD, attention deficit, because sometimes people have challenges focusing on one thing at a time and taking new information and really pulling it together with other things that they already know and getting retrieval systems so that they're able to retrieve information in their brains so that they can pull it out, use it for whatever application is in front of them. So executive function is really huge, and a lot of research has been done recently about executive function and shows that it's even more important, it turns out, than IQ, or our intelligence. So executive function is a really important thing. So let's just jump into this little activity that I created to help people develop executive function skill. So what I do usually with my clients around this activity is I have a bag of toys, and they're these little animal figurines, and they're just little plastic toys, but they're all animals, and they're different sizes and shapes and colors, and they're like those real life animals. So you can look at them and see, just by looking at it and holding it, that this is a giraffe, or this is an elephant, or this is a shark, or this is some kind of a bird or a bear. And what I do is I tell people, okay, and I put them in a big pile on a table, and I say, this is what I want you to do. I want, as fast as you can, I want you to put all of these different animals into 4 different categories. And I want you to label each category with a unique label that describes what animals are in that pile. And you're not allowed to use the same 4 labels twice. So here's the pile, sort these animals into 4 different piles. I want you to label each pile, and then we're going to talk about what the labels are. And so it usually looks something like this. So there's going to be, maybe 25 different animals in a pile here, but let's just say that here's a giraffe, right? And here's a fish, and here's a alligator, and here's a bird, right? So usually all of these kinds of animals would go into one pile, and they would label it, mammals. And then this would go over to fish, this would go over to reptiles, and this might go over to birds. And I say, but we do this with like 25 different animals, so all of those different kind of animals will go into those piles. And then I say, great, now we're going to do it again. But this time you're not allowed to use the same labels that you've already used. So we take these labels and we put them to the side on a little piece of paper so that they're able to reference what they've used and what they've not used. And then what they do is they do it again and again and again and again. And then what that does is it forces your brain to look at things from a different lens. And that lens helps us to take new information, reinterpret, go back to our brains and pull up old information about what we know. So we start looking at things like through the lens of color, through the lens of shape. How many legs does this thing have? What continent does it live on? What climates does it live in? What kinds of skin does it have? What kinds of internal organs does it have? Is it an invertebrate or a vertebrate? So on and so forth. And what that does is it forces your brain to look at a wide variety of things from a different perspective and then sort them accordingly. That's called taxonomy. Now, why is this important? Well, if you're trying to sort the paperwork, the files on your desk into a filing cabinet, sometimes people are just paralyzed, stuck with how to organize that kind of thing. Sometimes there are students who just cannot organize their studies, and their book bags and their lockers and their notebooks are a complete mess because they just don't have the skills to organize things in a way that's going to make sense to them later when they're trying to retrieve that information. It's the same exercise applies to organizing the stuff in your space. So if I was going to help you organize your garage, for example, and I'm a professional organizer, so I do that a lot, we would use this same activity to help you figure out, okay, what kinds of things are going to go into this particular bin or this pile or this cabinet or this drawer. And what that does is it helps you like things together. It's going to help us to locate those things later when we need them. So executive function, really important tool. This is just one activity to help executive function development. My name is Evan Michael Zislis. I'm the author of the #1 bestseller on Amazon, Clutter-Free Revolution. If you have more information about organizing absolutely anything and how executive function will help you do that, check out clutterfreerevolution.com. Thanks very much. We'll see you next time.